Looking at the US dollar as the reserve currency of the world today may be challenged at some point in the future. Will gold take its place? Perhaps a basket of currencies. Only time will tell. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to talk about what's going on with the US dollar, what's going on with gold, what's happening in the economy. This information was actually cropped out of the previous video. I'm sure you watched it. If not, I will link to it at the end of this one. It went on so long and it went into a different territory, so I decided to actually split the video and put it in here. Remember that all of these videos contain so much information. It's hard to stay up to date. I know I release a lot of them, but for those who stick with me, I know you are getting the important stuff. I have another report. I'm going to have to post it tomorrow about what's going on with the GDP. I'm sure you've seen the information already. Anyway, let's get into this. Dollar on course for the worst month in almost a decade. Investors bet that the Fed will be forced to keep rates lower for longer, lowering real yields in the US. You can see the chart here out of the Wall Street Journal article. All I'm trying to do is highlight the fact that there are many things happening today. The dollar is performing terribly over the last month, but of course, as you can see from August 2018 up until 2020 essentially, it had been rising. In the short term, it's looking very negative. That has an impact on assets. Of course, they're priced in US dollars. So this is one issue that we're dealing with right now. There's a lot in this article here. I just wanted to touch on a couple of points. Strong gains are inevitable as we enter a period much like the post-global financial crisis environment, where gold prices soared to record levels as a result of copious amounts of Fed money being pumped into the financial system. A weak dollar and negative real rates are providing further impetus. Investment demand has been unrelenting. Holdings in gold-backed exchange-traded funds, which I have a chart to show you in a few minutes, have beaten all-time highs nearly every month since late last year, and inflows this year have topped the record annual total set in 2009. So we have a lot of money that's flowing in to the paper side of this. That's very important, even though it's not the physical metal as I talked about at the beginning. But like I said, you do what you want with your investment. I'm simply highlighting the trends. I'm simply trying to show you what's happening. There's a breakdown in the financial system here at this time. Annual purchases of gold ETFs. Take a look at this. It is definitely a big change over what we had seen even just last year. In 2009, there was a similar run-up, huge inflows, but now today in 2020, we're only halfway through the year. So who knows how much there really is going to be put into this by the time we get to the end of December. ETF holdings in gold. Take a look. You could see this in millions of troy ounce. It has been climbing rapidly right now. There have been those investors who wanted nothing to do with the yellow metal, the barbarous relic, and now they've put their money into it because they've seen it rise. So they're riding the wave. There is certainly speculation at play right now. We'll see if there's any form of consolidation coming up, but with what the Federal Reserve is doing here, it might essentially put a floor in where it goes from here on out. Share of gold ETF assets under management as a percentage of the total worldwide funds asset under management. Now think about this for a second. You've seen so much money flowing into gold. You've heard about it. The investments are there. They are available. But when you see it as a percentage, it is unbelievable. The number isn't even 0.5%. So that's 0.5%. This line, which is basically where it was at financial crisis, after the financial crisis time frame, where it rose in terms of the price. And right now today, we're not even there. It's so infinitesimal. It's such a small number when you compare it to the total global assets. So when there's the suggestion that it's a bubble, it's the complete opposite of what we're seeing with the top 5 tech stocks, for instance, where they make up something like 20% of the index. I mean, that's crazy. I'm not suggesting that I know what number or what percentage it quote unquote should be at. All I'm highlighting here is that there is very little investment in gold. Just wanted to point this out. This comes from the World Gold Council. You can actually sign up to their free email. They send infrequent emails to you, and you can get like the top 3 points quarterly, what's been happening with gold. You just delete the email right after. Doesn't cost you anything, and you can stay up to date. Gold ETFs close the first half with record $40 billion of net inflows. Very significant numbers here, directly from the source. I noticed this change here in the Case-Shiller 20 City Composite Home Price Index. We're looking at real estate essentially in the top 20 cities in the US. Year over year, this has fallen. It depends on where you look, of course. Some cities are not performing well right now. They've got serious problems. But look at the demand in the Hamptons, for instance. The urban centers are seeing a bunch of people leaving. The rural areas are seeing people coming in, not enough inventory, prices are rising, things are really changing. The trend is just starting right now, essentially since March, as we had stopped increasing. The incline essentially stopped right at March. So I'm going to follow this. It's really too early to tell, but I wanted to bring it to you just to give you an idea of what's been happening. What we can see right now with the government, what they've been doing with the PPP loans, what's been happening with the loans to different businesses, to individuals, the stimulus checks, it's all been a mess. And that's usually the way it goes. But this one really hurts, unfortunately. It's truly sad. From simple confusion to confiscation, some nursing homes aren't giving residents their stimulus checks. Now, this is just one example, but I've seen so many. I did a post on the blog section of my channel. A man took out millions of dollars of PPP loans. Then he bought a Lamborghini with it. Now he got caught, but how many didn't get caught? How many people are taking these forgivable loans in many instances, buying things, writing them off, whatever the case may be, and who knows what other nonsense, wastefulness that's been going on with your tax dollars. There's so many unfortunate things on all different levels right now. This is very important, and I wanted to touch on it here. Out of the Wall Street Journal article, they mentioned something that I've talked about many, many times before. I found an article that highlighted it, so I wanted to include it here because I have noticed there is so many people out there that they don't get it. They see a bill, they read the name of the bill. It's the CARES Act. If you don't want to pass the CARES Act, then you don't care. What about the Patriot Act? If you don't want to pass the Patriot Act, you're not a patriot. They do this on purpose. These different bills, they're 1,000 pages, they're 10,000 pages, they're massive. And then they're getting 20 minutes, read it, sign it, hurry up. If you don't, you're not patriotic, you don't care. You see how that works? There's a lot to the article, but I'm just going to touch on the point that's relevant here. You know there are a number of things in the last bill that had nothing to do with this crisis that we're experiencing in 2020. I think everybody acknowledges that it's a funding mechanism, and I don't see it standing in the way of us getting a deal. They're talking about the first round. Within that bill, they stick in all of these other things that are completely unrelated, and now they're doing the exact same thing this time around. You've got a bill that nobody's going to read. It's 1,000 pages, right? It's a huge book. It's a tome. We're talking about these massive things that they sit on somebody's desk. It never gets touched. Maybe they'll read the cover page, probably get some coffee stains on it. But right deep in there, page 472, they're talking about things that have nothing to do with the issue. It's just a way to get them to spend the money that they couldn't before. So they try to pass something through Congress. It doesn't fly. They stick it in page 472. Then when it comes time to read it, if they do find out what actually is stuck in there, you start to have a battle. The people in Congress are fighting this and that, fighting back and forth. But the media said, oh, you don't care enough. Oh, you're not patriotic enough. Oh, the Congress isn't acting. They're not doing their job. They're not working. Meanwhile, in many of the cases, they're fighting the things that have been squeezed into these bills, which should have never been there in the first place, but 99% of the time, they just pass it anyway. I know it's a bit off topic. I wanted to include it there because it is truly relevant to what we are seeing right now today. I'm going to end the video there. If you found it informative, hit that thumbs up button. When you do, you are supporting me. Thank you very much for that. If you want to check me out on Instagram and Twitter, I'm doing stuff every single day. You can do so at the Money GPS. Do you want to learn how to sell stuff online? You want to make money online? I have a free e-course for you. Well over 7,500 people in the program, totally free, the AmazonGPS.com. Do you want to be able to ask the right questions about your money, about your finances, about what to do step by step? Everything A to Z is covered in these two books. Check them out at the link in the description. If you want the audiobook instead, themoneygps.com. Hey now, don't go anywhere. Have you seen part 1 of this video yet? A lot of information. Just click the video and I will see you there.